In Elden Ring, there are a bunch of different weapons to use. Don't believe me? Well, take this for example. You can put on a stupid mask and carry a 27-pound hammer while smashing people into the ground. Or you could scour the open world to find really cool weapons and use those on your journey. Or, you can run around with a weapon that looks like a giant chicken leg and just run through the entire game with absolutely zero skill whatsoever. This weapon alone is why we are here today. Now you're probably thinking, why in the world is a chicken leg the best weapon in Elden Ring? Well, I could give you the long essay-like answer, or I could just tell you that this thing selects all the boxes above to being a crazy weapon. I mean, this weapon has really no struggle even clearing the 10,000 damage mark. So I'm guessing if you clicked on this video because you're getting shit on in the DLC and you need something to help you out, don't worry, I got you. I'm gonna try to make this video as easy as possible to understand for all the new players that are watching this. We're first gonna go over what talismans you should be using with this, and then we're gonna be talking about the buffs, and then just in general other items to boost your damage. And I know many of you are still gonna have questions, so feel free to drop a comment. I'm totally open to responding to these and helping you guys out. But let's first understand how the weapon works. So we obviously see the charge R2 has this blood puddle coming out of it when you make contact with something. And then the light attack, the R1s, really don't have anything special to it. So we could obviously tell within the first couple seconds of picking this weapon up, we need to use this to build for charge attack. This means stuff like Axe Talisman is going to play a huge part in this. So now we know how the weapon works, we're just going to go over what talismans are going to be best fitted for this. Let's just point out the obvious here. The Axe Talisman is going to be our first slot. As I stated earlier, this will provide a 10% damage bonus, and if you say that's not a lot, it's not a lot right now, but when we start stacking it with all of our other buffs, it will. Second, we're going to use the two-handed sword talisman because it's just something everybody should use whether you're doing an overpowered build or not. But I feel like this one's pretty self-explanatory though. 50% is a lot stacked with all the other buffs, so we're throwing it in here. So if we're going to want the maximum amount of damage possible, we are going to probably want to throw in Ritual Sword in here as well. I understand many people don't even use this because they all have problems staying at full HP, but you also got to keep in mind when you're using something this powerful, almost every single boss has a script, which basically means the fight will go the same way every time. So if you're just scared to use this or something, just trust me, use it and see how you do. But for the final slot, we are going to want to throw in the Fire Scorpion charm. I know I could already hear many of you saying through the screen that this doesn't even do fire damage. Well, that is kind of true, but that is nothing an infusion can fix since this weapon is not a somber weapon. Inside of Redmane Castle, there's a room, and on this body right here will carry the red hot wet blade. This wet blade makes it basically so you could just set the infusion to flame art, making it scale off faith, but more importantly, do fire damage. Now, since we have split the damage output into physical and fire, we can also use the fire crack tier. Speaking of crack tiers, I feel like this one is pretty obvious, but if we're doing charge attacks, make sure you use the charge crack tier you get at the beginning of the game, otherwise you'll be missing out on some big damage. But other than that, let's go ahead and move on to our buffs. After you've upgraded your weapon, you set the infusion to flame art, it'll now be scaling off faith. So now if you want to do the most damage possible, I really highly suggest you just start upgrading faith from where you're at in your playthrough. But surprisingly, there's not even really much to talk about with the buffing sequence. It's just basically going to always be Golden Vow and Howl of Shabriri. The reasoning for this is also pretty simple. It's just the spells that give you the most damage output. I was talking about items that would increase our damage earlier, and here is one of them. The Sacred Bloody Flesh item, when you eat it, it will not only increase your arcane by 10, but give you all of these as well. Now this is a huge item, especially with something that does blood loss like this. Yes, you do need to proc blood loss in the vicinity, but there's an Ash of War in the mountaintops of the giants that literally lets you cause it on yourself for free. But before we get into the actual damage numbers, there is one more thing that I need to talk about, and that is the Ash of Wars. You basically have two good options when you're using this weapon, and that's to either use Cragblade or Royal Knight's Resolve. I'm a little biased when I say this, but I think Royal Knight's Resolve is a way better option to fit this weapon. These are both really good options, and you could also get them both before fighting a single boss. Another item you should consider using is the entire Rakshasa set. This entire set will pull you about 8% more damage. Again, 8% isn't the biggest number, but well, it will multiply with every single other buff you have. Now that we have talked about all of the game mechanics to help this weapon be good, let's talk about some strategies that you as the player could do to make this even better. First off, probably one of the most obvious ones, just learn the boss's moveset at least a little bit so you know when you have time to get an attack off. I'm not going to ask you to go study the boss's movesets so where you know them like the back of your hand. All I'm asking is that you at least know when a combo is finished so you are safe to do a charge attack. Just trust me, if you at least know this one, it will make your fights a lot easier. The biggest thing that I see players doing nowadays is not punishing after a combo. But now that that's out of the way, I showed this at the beginning of the video, so let me just explain it a little bit more. So you could clearly see that this does fire damage. This further explains why we choose to buff the weapon with the fire infusion instead of like a sacred or lightning. And then finally, the Rakshasa set does in fact make you take more damage, but if you're willing to take the risk, 8% is kind of a lot when stacked along with all the other buffs. This weapon alone is just crazy good, and I don't really feel like I need to even explain more because it shows for itself. I feel like I've got the bulk of the weapon and how to use it out pretty good, but if I miss anything, again, please let me know in the comments. I really love using this weapon, especially for no-hit runs, so if you want to, go give it a try. I highly recommend it. Before we come to it, yes, I know I didn't talk about the poise damage it does at all, but I wanted to just kind of keep this strictly damage. Appreciate you guys watching till the end of the video. It means a lot, and it would also mean more if you could drop a like and subscribe. But other than that, I don't have anything else to explain. If you like the videos on screen, go check them out. I spent a lot of time making them, and I feel like you guys would all enjoy them.